Hi, my name is Olivia. I just want to say hello first and foremost and introduce myself. I would also like to start by saying that what I'll be covering today is a sensitive subject. For many people, I will be talking about abortion. If you do not want to hear about that or human trafficking, completely understand that. You don't have to watch this. But without further ado, here I come. In modern society, women are still struggling with being verbally attacked, not only by men, but women as well, feeling as though they can't walk into Planned Parenthood because people are telling them that they are murderers and that they'll go to hell for their sins, when in reality this isn't the case. Every day, women and girls are being put in positions where it may be life or death. And it's absolutely torture and not okay. People are fighting for them every day to get them to a safer place, but it's not in the volume they want it to be. Every day we go to work making money, and everyone is making different rates. Even though women are at different jobs, they aren't necessarily getting paid the same wage as men. Gender bias still lives on today. It's struggling to ensure equal rights, especially in the workplace. Now, for my first point, I would like to talk about women's rights. Women have been in rule since ancient history, such as Hatshepsut, an Egyptian pharaoh. Women were able to enjoy the same rights as men. As for ancient Greece, well, women didn't exactly have those rights. Women were essentially owned and were the male's property. Now, being in the 21st century, these rights are institutionalized, where in other places they are being ignored and suppressed. Women's rights have definitely made a remarkable stride over the years. Women have been able to vote for the last 100 years, and winning that fight started a women's revolution. But women and girls around the world are still becoming victims to human trafficking and are unable to access education due to the circumstances they are in. Human trafficking is forced labor and sex slavery. Human rights include being able to live free from violence. It is unfortunately estimated that between 20 and 40 million people are in modern day slavery internationally, and those numbers aren't even what it truly is due to so many cases being undetected. Globally, about 71% of these enslaved people are women and girls. This is extremely alarming to so many people, including myself. There are numbers to call if you see any suspicious activity, such as 911, the National Human Trafficking Hotline. I hear stories of women from around the country being followed in grocery stores and by people who hand them pamphlets and will attempt to follow them to their car so they know which one to follow. Stories of women who find white pieces of paper on their windshield who don't get out to remove it because someone has marked their car so they can hopefully get them to get out of the car and remove it, and in the process take them. This isn't something that should ever be taken lightly. Women are targeted so often, and it's something we all need to be on the lookout for. Now, for voting. Women's rights, the movement began in the 19th century, and the feminist movements began in the 20th and 21st centuries. The right for women to vote ratified on August 18th, 1920. Women fought hard for that right to vote. They picketed and petitioned to get the bill introduced to Congress. In 1878, women went on hunger strikes, silent vigils, and they were often faced with resistance. People would jail them, make fun of them, and even physically abuse them. Though the campaign for women's rights to vote was long and difficult, women were finally given the right to vote. Still, not everyone was able to vote, though, due to discriminatory state voting laws. Now that we've talked about women's rights, human trafficking, and voting, let's talk about gender bias and the wage gap between men and women. In the workplace, though the pay gap has improved substantially since 1979, women are still making just 87 cents to the dollar men are making. Black women and Latinas are only making 64 cents to each dollar a white man makes. Gender pay gaps are persisting around the world, even in the United States. This needs to change. Though many companies have already taken this step forward toward this, it was a fight, and it shouldn't have been. Just because we are women does not mean we can't hold the same standards as men. We are independent thinkers, and we can prove so much more than some companies realize. In my final statement, I'd like to go over Planned Parenthood and why it's an important resource for everybody, not just women, and how this place is not just an abortion clinic like many believe. They have basic human health, STD screenings, and overall health checks. They offer quick care for STDs, and they offer vaccines for HPV, hepatitis A and B. They are non-judgmental, and they will always provide resources to keep you safe and prevent STDs for men and women. They even offer several different types of birth control, from the pill to the depot shot. Now, abortion, as this is something they provide, this is not the only thing that they do provide. I can't stress this enough. Many women can't afford the hospital bills, or their pregnancy may be ectopic, or they may physically can't carry the child due to a health issue. Protesters are almost always out in front of these establishments, yelling at women walking in there and telling them they are committing murder, and they could simply getting a screening or birth control. It's already not easy to just walk in there. We don't need it to be harder. Now that I have my main points covered, let's conclude. Today I covered women's rights, voting, human trafficking, gender bias, Planned Parenthood, abortions, and birth control. Women's rights need to be heard. Planned Parenthood is not just an abortion clinic. It is so much more than that. Women should be making the same as a man, doing the same work, and human trafficking needs to end. With all that being said, I hope you can see and hear my views for what they are. Politics aside, see the things that need to change and hear the things that need to be seen. Change is inevitable.